Welcome everyone. Welcome to the third webinar in the Growth Accelerator series from Ingram Micro. The topic for today's discussion or webinar is understanding and attracting your ideal customer. This is all part of your Cloud Movers program that I'm sure you're all aware of. And at the end of the webinar, there will be a series of questions or short little quiz. I think it's 5 questions. That shouldn't be too hard. That we encourage you to do, and that will earn points towards your Cloud Movers program. I believe there is an auction coming up where you can use the points you earn on this Cloud Movers program. So a good idea to make sure you do the quiz, and also go back and you can view the webinar 2 and webinar 1 on the Cloud Movers program and do the quizzes there to earn the points. So the key is to do the quiz. And you'll get the points to go towards the program. So hope you go back and have a look at those if you missed them. Anyway, let's move on with today's topic, understanding and attracting your ideal customer, which is really starting to get down to the area that we all want to focus on in business, is getting more customers. So let's move on to the first slide, a quick little introduction. I'm Philip Scott, that's me in that photo there. I'm just going to spend 2 seconds on this slide, not talking about ourselves, but talking about the structure of this, the text you see there. This is essentially our elevator pitch that we sort of covered earlier in a couple of the webinars around part of your differentiation. And I just like the way this elevator pitch is structured, and encourage you to look at something similar for your business. So it starts off the first sentence, who you work with, and what the current status is of those people that you work with. And you'll notice there's the word frustrated in the second sentence there. So it's basically saying, and well, the idea of that is that it's an emotional word to engage those people. So if you're a Microsoft partner, you want to challenge the status quo, and you're currently frustrated with the growing cost of our customer acquisition using the traditional methods, maybe you should listen to the rest of what I got to say. So that's what an elevator pitch, the opening of elevator pitch is all about. The second paragraph is all about stating what you do. All right, and in this case, we're offering an alternative, all about increasing visitors, leads, and customers. And then the third paragraph is around what makes you different. So I like the structure of that. There's many different structures for elevator pitches, and this is slightly different to what you'll see on the Microsoft Partner Marketing website. But I just particularly like this structure, so we tend to use it a lot with our clients. So let's move on to the webinar and question here. But before we do, we're going to do a quick recap of webinar 1, standing out from the crowd. And I think one of the key things here, or the key takeouts from that webinar, is that today's customers are experience driven. Just like you have with your mobile phones and purchasing online, and online purchases taking over the retail space, or really growing in the retail space, is because it's quick, it's easy, the customer experience is seamless as possible. And that doesn't suit every scenario, but the key point here is making the customer experience memorable, easy, giving them the information they want when they want it in the way they want it. Also, in today's marketing and today's customers, they're really looking to understand your why, and as part of the Microsoft IT reseller ecosystem, there's many thousands of you out there, and what's going to make you different is often why you do what you do. What is it you're passionate about? Is it a particular industry? Is it a particular technology? Or is it just a matter of helping other small businesses in your region that you're really good at, and you really want to make a difference to your region? That understanding your why and explaining that and starting your story with the why is often a really good place to go. Understanding your ideal customer, we go in a bit more depth about that today, and then having your value proposition. And there's many different ways to create a value proposition, and that's something that you really need to have clearly stated for your customers or prospects, even more important. So your point of difference was the topic for webinar 2, and really there's a number of ways you can do that. And some of the keys were industry specialization, and that's an area that I think a number of Microsoft partners are going, and we see that. And whether that is an industry or a product specialization, if you go deep and deeper than those around you, you'll have a point of difference. And that's because you've got a deeper level of knowledge of that customer, that industry, those challenges they have, or that particular product. Also, packaging your solutions really shortens that buying cycle. And if you can put together security packages that go on top of, let's say, Office 365, and maybe you use Enterprise Mobility Suite, or you've got a security service offering on top of that, and promote that as a secure way for a business to operate, that's going to shorten the buying cycle for you as well and help you differentiate from your customers. Because let's face it, there's thousands of IT resellers out there selling Microsoft Cloud solutions. You need to find something that's going to make you a bit different. Another way to do it is differentiate based on the customer touch point. You know, what is it that makes you different? Is it your implementations are the smoothest, quickest, and most seamless, or is it the way some partners are going, which is focusing on the implementation? So a lot of partners can implement Office 365 and managed services and everything. They're probably not as good as what they could be around getting those technology utilized fully across the enterprise or across the business, the customer's business. So if you focus a lot on that training, there's a lot of money to be made on that, so that the customer gets the full value out of the solution you're providing, and they're going to be a lot stickier to you as well if you can help them achieve that utilization. Also, with your point of difference, it helps to be distinctive in your marketing, and a great way to do that is to teach your customers something new. Now, one of the key points I think a lot of IT resellers are sort of learning, if they haven't already come to that conclusion, is that most customers will go directly to the vendor for product information. So what is it you're going to tell the customer about that solution that's relevant to them, that's going to make you different? Often that's around how you apply it into a particular industry, how you apply it in a different particular way, whether it's security focused or ease of implementation, or maybe around the quality of your support and responsiveness of your support. What is it you can teach your customers that's new? That's another area that we encourage you to have a look at to help you create your point of difference. That's a quick recap on the first two webinars. Let's move into today's topic: understanding and attracting your ideal customer. Here's the key areas we're going to cover today. We've done a quick recap. We're going to touch base on what today's buyer is expecting and doing, and they're going to help you define your personas. Now, what that is, and we'll go into the definitions as we go, but this is your ideal customer. Who are they? What are they? How do you get started with writing this persona, and how do you use research to improve it? And then understanding for each of those personas, those people that you sell to, what is it? What's the journey that they go on to make the purchase decision? And this is really where the rubber meets the road, or the tarmac, in marketing terms. And this is where you can really identify what it is you need to be doing and information you need to be providing those prospects. So that's what we're going to be covering today. And let's move straight into it. Today's buyer. A quick recap here, because we have covered this a little bit previously, is we all know today's business-to-business customer is researching online before making decisions. That's really been a growing trend over the last 5, maybe even 10 years, and over the last couple of years has really come to the fore. And the other one that's grown exponentially in recent years is that C-level execs do engage peers and friends on social media to support purchase decisions. Now, social media is not just Facebook, it is LinkedIn as well, which is probably more the professional social media platform, and Twitter as well. A lot of technology companies and people are on Twitter, and that's something that you can consider as well. The next item is video. That percentage there, video usage online, and part of the research process that B2B customers use is really growing every year. So Microsoft, in the Microsoft Partner marketing portal, has a lot of videos available for you that you can reuse on your website, that you can reuse in a number of places, that will help you, avoid the cost of it. But if you can afford to do your own video series, that is also a good way to help differentiate and create something different. Another trend is the line of business buyers. They're often the people in the business unit, maybe in sales, are having troubles trying to identify and keep track of all their customers, so they need the Dynamics 365 for sales. Maybe it's it's just the executives need to work from home, so they need remote access to all their data and their systems. So moving into Office 365 and Azure for some of their systems is a great way to go. So these line of business buyers are really coming to the fore, and they're the ones feeling the pain that are really part of the buying process now, when previously it used to be very much IT focused. It was very much an IT driven process. Nowadays, not as much, and that's changing all the time. So another component that I think we're all very well aware of is buyer decisions are influenced by how buyers are treated. So make sure you look after your buyers and your customers, because that's usually the primary reason that they either leave your organization, most definitely, and a big factor is whether they'll buy from you. So let's move on to the first topic. What is a persona? So if we read the definition there, it's a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer. And this is really, you see what on the right-hand side, this is really about actually writing down who is your ideal customer. And there's a certain structure to that we'll go through, and you can see it on the right-hand side there. And it's really ideally built on data and research. We all have our gut feel about what the CEO wants and what the IT manager wants. But the more data you can verify that with, the better. And that's what the larger organizations will do, and what we always try to do when we work with our customers. But the persona is really about answering three key questions. What does this person need? When and where do they need it? And how can you specifically help them? And so it's really about defining their problems, their motivations, where they search for information, and what information they're looking for at different stages. So often it's recommended that you start with 3 personas, because there's usually 3 people involved in a purchase decision as a minimum. The bigger, larger enterprise purchases involves a larger group of people, but in the small to medium business environment, typically 3 personas is a great place to start. Often we will start with the business buyer, who's often the CEO or managing director. There's the financial buyer, often the CFO, and the major influencer. Now this can be the IT manager if it's an IT driven, if the decisions are IT driven, or it could be the line of business manager who's feeling the pain and is jumping up and down and making the most noise, and going to the CEO to say, we need to solve this problem straight away. So that's what we suggest you do. You start with 3 personas, and those 3 that we mentioned there will be a good place to start. So let's move on. Let's go into a bit more detail about this persona and why you would actually use a persona and go to the effort of doing this. And the first thing is it's really about understanding your customers, and it's about developing the messaging and positioning for the sales team and the marketers. I'll give you a scenario. If you've just employed a new salesperson and they come into your organization and you say, well, we sell managed services, cloud transitions, digital transformation, and we target financial services and professional services. We like to talk to the CEO and go and sell and meet your quota. Now, that's all very well and good, but it'll be far more useful for that salesperson. They'll come up to speed far quicker if they actually knew the CEO in a financial institution what their challenges are, what are the industry trends, what are the problems they're facing, and where do they go for information to solve this. Because that's going to give the salesperson the right sort of information to have a conversation with that CEO. Likewise for your marketers, it's hard to write any sort of marketing or do any sort of marketing for an organization unless you truly understand the buyer. Otherwise, it's very much generic, and it's a bit of a sort of spray and pray approach. So the more detailed your persona is, the better, and it really benefits the sales team as much as the marketing team. Other key benefits: product and market alignment. Let's make sure your products are aligned to what the customer actually needs. You can increase your reach, and that's your messaging and your marketing out there. You drive a better customer action, and that's key because there's lots of marketing messages out there. But if you can really tap into what the challenge or the fear is in your persona, your prospect, you're much more likely to drive a customer action, like downloading something or making an inquiry to your company. So ultimately, this is all about generating more leads, optimizing your marketing, improving the customer experience, and developing sales training. So some 8 very good reasons to put a bit of time and effort into developing these personas. Let's go into a bit more detail about what makes up a persona. A persona is a written document, and it helps you define the who. So in this case, and what you see on the screen there is the who of human resources, the head of the human resources. They work at the same company, they're married, whether they're male or female, what sort of income they've got. How do you actually identify what sort of personality style they are, or most likely to be? Now, as you can see, these are quite generic. So they're generalizations of your target audience. So, of course, there's going to be people that are outside this generalization, but it's generally, you try to target your messaging and your sales and marketing effort to the majority. And that's some of the key things there. And then we move on to the what. What is it that their goals are? The CEO might be growth and profitability with adherence to compliance requirements. What challenges do they have? Let's document all those so they're very clearly stated. And then just as importantly, what we can do to help them resolve that. Hopefully this is all making sense to you. And we move on to the why. And this is where we really, from a sales and marketing perspective, it makes a big difference. The real quotes is a good thing to do because that helps you identify why they're actually doing it. What is it that's driving the business to spend any time on this? Why? What's the pain they're feeling that they need to resolve? And common objections is another good one to get down. Great tools for your sales team and helps you paint the complete picture that your sales and marketing team can execute against. So that's a very high-level start to it. And then we move into the how. All right. So how are they going to solve this problem? Describe your solution for this persona. And maybe even a quick little pitch, a couple of examples, sales pitches or marketing pitches that you can put in there. Now, these examples you see on the screen there is sourced from HubSpot.com, and there's lots of great marketing information on that website. And encourage you to have a look at that, subscribe to their marketing blog. Okay, what does this look like? The simplest form is what you see on the screen here, and the templates come from smartinsights.com, another good website for learning. And as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. You can start off just an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document, have these key headings, and you can refine the headings to what you want, and you can build it out from here. And just remember though, your persona needs to go a bit deeper than simply outlining basic details. it really has to summarize the characteristics and delve into their goals and challenges and pain points. Those are emotional triggers that are really going to make a difference when a sales or marketing person is trying to put a message in front of them. And often, it's about interviews or talking with your customers that these sort of things come out. And so the big warning here is don't just rely on assumptions, and we'll come into that in just a moment. If you want a bit of a tool to help you get started with this, creating your own persona, suggest you visit this makemypersona.com website. It's developed by that HubSpot company that I mentioned before. It's a really good way. That's a wizard-based approach that'll lead you through it. It's a great tool, and suggest you do that. So ultimately, this is what any marketing company will do with an organization, so you can have a crack at this yourself and save a lot of time and effort. Often we sit down in workshops with our clients and go through this and help define that. We build that ideal persona by asking your team. Likewise, you can do it yourself. Sit down with your sales team, sit down with your customer service people and consultants, try and verify what your assumptions are about these. Let's say it's the IT manager, what you verify the assumptions you've got, and make sure that's real and it's not just your bias. And this is what we start to do, and this is what you'll start to see in the larger, more advanced companies. They will build and verify their persona in a number of different ways. And the starting point is lead forms. And that is anytime you download something, whether it's requesting a demo, downloading an ebook, sometimes it's when you watch a video. Often there's forms you fill out, you give your name and email address and phone number. That's the starting point. And that's helping you verify things. Organizations might have different things, like what is the size of your company, what is your current, your biggest pain point with IT. It might be a number of different pieces of information they're collecting. And that can be static forms, or the more advanced marketing companies will actually have the tools behind the scenes that will say, well, this person's already given us their name, email address, and phone number. So we will actually present different questions this time when they download an ebook. And that's a good way to build out your database, qualify the prospect for the sales team, and help verify your ideal persona with actual data, not just your gut feel. Another great way to do this and help you build that ideal persona is interactive content. Often you'll see quizzes, or it's sort of like a quiz online, and yes, I'm struggling with a growing list of open and overdue IT issues. You click on a few buttons, you go through some questions, and it's all gathering data and information about that particular user. And this example is from ServiceNow. That's a customer service-based tool. It actually does a lot more than that, but let's just leave it at that. And helps them qualify their leads, help them build out their persona, and ask particular questions along the way, like, are your IT service requests made primarily by emails, phone calls, a walk-up, or a smoke signal? And then a blank for the person to provide the answer. So that's a good example just there of how you can build out, use data to verify that ideal persona. Surveys, as you'd expect, pretty quick and simple to set up nowadays. Not as easy to get people to fill out because everyone's busy in their jobs and they don't often have time for surveys. But if you can do that and you offer a prize at the end, that is another good way. Really verify that ideal persona you've got. Likewise, social media. What is it, the information? What are the questions they're asking in your prospects? If you follow particular prospects or people within your target market, what is it they're looking for and reading online? Now, you can do that by monitoring your social media feeds in a number of ways. Hootsuite, which you see on the left-hand side there, is a great tool for monitoring all the different platforms, whether it's Twitter or any of the others. And then if you want to, likewise, HubSpot and all the marketing automation tools have social media monitoring platforms. And if you want to go in a step deeper, you can use something like Follow-a-Wonk, which is the screenshot you see on the right, which will really delve into the analytics of your followers and what it is they're interested in. That's more of an advanced tool set, but ultimately what you're really trying to gain from this is, what are the customers' feelings, buying habits, connections, cultural interests, and preferences. And as you pick that out from social media, that can help you build your ideal persona. Likewise, your web analytics, the people that are visiting you, where are they coming from? What's their profile? What are they actually interested in when they visit your website? And these are some more of the advanced techniques that companies will use and advanced marketers will use to really analyze and improve their websites. A good example is one of the partners, the Microsoft partners that we work with. We were looking to answer some questions, on their website. They wanted better performance out of their website because they knew it wasn't converting into leads as much as it should be for the volume of visitors they had. So it was really what the questions we're looking to ask was, what are the patterns of visitor behavior? Where are they coming from? Where do they go while they're on the website? How long do they stay? And what are the content formats that are most popular? Is it video? Is it ebooks, or is it just blog articles that they're really the most popular? And do these patterns tell you anything about your customers and where they are in the buying process, or what content is most effective at the different stages of the buying process? So this particular partner we worked with really had some information about their capabilities around Dynamics 365, and they had a number of images on the page. One of them for Dynamics 365 for sales, for field service, for projects, etc., etc. And people were clicking on those images to learn more. So they were getting a lot of traffic. They understood that this partner was had the capability, but they wanted to know more, and it wasn't converting into leads. They were stopping and they were just leaving. So we weren't fulfilling the needs of that visitor as they were on the website. So through a tool called Hotjar, which is an add-in for your website, that we were able to understand and see that there was the hotspots on the website where they were clicking, and they were clicking on these images for Dynamics 365 for sales to learn more about it, but there was nothing there. It didn't hyperlink anywhere. So those people were just leaving. So that was a quick, simple problem to solve by adding some more detail, another subset, another product page on their website. Now, once you've got a good idea of your ideal persona, we really recommend you make it real. You bring it to life in any possible way. You put a photo on it, put it up on the board in the office. Give the person a name. You would have seen earlier on the earlier slides, we have different names for the different personas. And we had the HR person, we had the marketing person earlier on, and I'm just flicking back to see if I can find the name, but I can't remember at the moment. But we always put a name on them and a photo of someone that sort of fits that criteria. And the same sort of male or female, what sort of age category, what sort of economic, socio-economic profile they might be. It's a generalization, we know that. But it sort of brings it to life so you can help visualize it, which is, at the end of the day, as humans, we're all visual people. And hopefully at the end of that, you've described the challenges and you've identified who the key people are, you've described the challenges, and you better understand how they consume information. And it's a vital step in any marketing exercise to really define who it is you're talking to. And let's move on to really meet the other half of this, because personas is only one half of the marriage. The other half is the customer map, or the buyer's journey, as we like to call it. And this is a a good example, this cartoon on the screen here. Every customer will go through a journey of, creating aware, I've got a problem, yeah, I've got some interest in solving this, and then they consider the options, and they'll maybe get justification and intent, so justification from the business to purchase it, evaluate the options, make the purchase decision. Hopefully it goes well and they're a loyal customer. That's the journey they go on. This cartoon is just taking a little bit of jab at marketers that, don't read too much into it too often. This person just wants to go to the bathroom. So you'd move through the journey quite quickly because it's a pretty easy decision to make, and you just need to find a solution as in a place to go quickly. But B2B and technology decisions are more complex. There's more stages, there's more information required before a decision will be made. And this is what we're going to delve into next. So Microsoft's visualization of the buyer's journey is as you see on the screen. And this is what you'll see on a lot of the Microsoft Partner Marketing Portal, a lot of their marketing material to help you generate your campaigns. And it's really what it's depicting is the stages the buyer goes through in their journey. So first of all, I'll have a problem and I'll start exploring options. I'll evaluate those options and I'll make a purchase decision. And really that's where we're focusing our efforts on in these webinar series. But Microsoft goes a bit further and talks about how you can expand and cross-sell your other services, and you look for a renewal of the contract, and then they hopefully become an advocate. So that's Microsoft's view of it. For today, and where I'd suggest everyone starts, is something a little bit simpler, and we focus on the left-hand side. But let's have a look to better understand a buyer's journey. Let's have a look at what we've got on the screen here. And really what it is building a mental picture of the questions, thoughts, and actions that a customer may undertake as they go through each buying phase. And what this does allows you to apply the appropriate sales and marketing activities to provide your customers with the necessary information that they look for at that stage. And if you just think about it and you go through what's on the screen there, when someone's not in the market, they're just keeping an eye on competition, maybe glancing at overall market trends, keeping an eye on industry publications to just see what's happening. But at some point, there's going to be stimulation, there's going to be an event. Often it's a problem, a customer blows up, or a project doesn't go well, or something happens. And that event stimulates them into recognizing there is a problem and wondering if there are some options available, and is it going to be worth solving it. So then they look at, well, let's try and identify and define this problem, and then exploring the options, narrowing it down to a list, maybe developing their business case, evaluating those options, moving on to a preferred recommendation with contracts and reference checks and all those sorts of things, and then final decision, etc. So we've all been through that process. We've all seen our customers go through those sort of different stages. And that's a bit of a detailed breakdown. Generally in marketing for Microsoft partners, you probably want to simplify it a little bit, because if you otherwise you can get too buried in too much detail and too much text. And generally what we do is we would focus just on the awareness, consideration, and decision. That's how we group the journey. So the awareness of a problem, they evaluate the options, and then they make a decision. And what we're looking to do when we build on the persona that we've already developed and write down for this particular persona, and maybe it's the IT manager, maybe it's the CFO, what is it, how do they become aware of it? What's the trigger? Where do they go looking for solutions? And when they go looking, and maybe on Google, what is it, the key questions they're asking, and what are the searches they're doing online? That helps us with our SEO. And then what are the key contents that at that point in time we should be presenting them? And from a marketing point of view, at the end of the day, sales and marketing actually, at the end of the day, you're going to need to be providing the information to the customer as they move through this journey, and you're going to need to be identifying and presenting the right information at the right time. So is it case studies? Is it ebooks? Is it white papers? Is it videos? Is it cost calculators? Or what is the content that's right at that particular point in time? So that's an example there, and what you really like as marketers, we like to understand, because otherwise, what that does is helps us pinpoint where our marketing tactics and focus should be. So moving on a bit to a bit more of a detailed one, the B2B buyer's journey content mapping. We like to use the Hub framework for this. It's a good way to move through. The titles in the left-hand column are slightly different. You know, what's the user behavior, research, content types, key terms, and examples. So quotes. So you'll see different frameworks for this, but at the end of the day, it's all about mapping what it is, what their challenges are at each stage, where do they go, what information they're looking for, and how can we help them. Hopefully that all makes sense to you. And at some point, you start to build up in an organization, you know, a whole bank of different marketing assets that you've got. And as Microsoft partners, you've got access to a huge array of content and assets, whether that's ebooks, white books, you've got all the Gartner and analyst reports, you've got videos, you've got all sorts of calculators, those sorts of things accessible to you. Now, what you can do, and this is a great thing to do, to see if you've got any gaps, is to understand and is to map where it is these assets actually lie. So let's say you're focusing on managed services. What are the assets you've got around managed services that you need on your website and need to be providing through your sales process? Okay, so whether that's brochures, it's probably case studies, there's probably a calculator at some stage. Definitely case studies of happy customers are going to be required, references as well. And then is there an interactive quiz style that you could use to help people self-qualify themselves online? That's always a good thing to do. And as you can see on the screen here, the left-hand box, the content usually is designed around educating, entertaining, inspiring, or convincing. And that's to appeal to the different styles of people and their different needs at different stages. And the more rational items are the educating and convincing, and the more emotional are the entertaining and inspiring. And the closer you get to the purchase, the more inspiring and convincing you need to be. Inspiring appeals to the emotional people in your buying process, and the rational appeal to the rational people, usually often the CFO and the CEO, and to a large degree the IT manager as well. So if you go through and say, right, for managed services, we've got these particular 6 assets or tools that we can use in our sales and marketing process, where are they? But more importantly, what gap have you got? And that will help you when you fill the gaps and focus your efforts. So there's no point having too much of one type. You really need a mixture to from a digital marketing perspective and from a sales perspective as well. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. And to summarize today's webinar, a quick recap. Today's buyer requires you to have a detailed understanding of them and their buying journey, and that's really important. And hopefully that's something that you can quite simply do. That online tool from makemypersona.com is really good, and encourage you to check that out. Another one is another key point we covered was building those customer personas is really all about describing the characteristics of today's buyer, so you know exactly what they want when they want it, and it can benefit everyone in the team. not just the marketers, but also the sales team, especially when you're sales training. It's great to get started with developing your persona. Start with your own team. Just ask your sales managers, your salespeople, ask your customer service people what challenges people have, especially in, they would be very much across the cross-sell sort of situation. If someone's already got Office 365 and now they're looking for mobility, what can they do? Or maybe they're looking for security, increased security, what can they do? What sort of questions are they asking? And then once you've got that information, mapping the needs of the persona as they progress through the buyer journey, really important. And from a marketing perspective, find what gaps you've got, fill them, and then you've got all the tools you need to start putting together a marketing strategy and your marketing campaigns. And that's what we really aim today, to get you ready with all the tools and pieces in your kit bag, so you can have your marketing campaigns. So I hope you enjoyed today's webinar. If you've really encourage you to answer the quiz at the end and get those points for your Cloud Movers program, and then reach out to Ingram Micro with any questions you've got about the Ingram about their Ingram Micro Cloud, and to myself at Fuel if you're looking to increase your visitors, leads, or customers. So thanks very much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to speak to you soon. Goodbye.